everybody. This is Deborah Vick with Crafting for a Cause. And I'm just taking a moment to show you how I made this card over here. I used a couple of different techniques on this. I used this washi tape, which is a really gorgeous washi tape with some foil in it. And it's a very thin washi tape that I laid out over a plain cardstock like this. And then I cut it down. And once I cut it down, I ended up putting a little bit of gold foil on the edge over here just to give it a little bit more of a touch so that when I layer it on the card itself, it has multiple layers. So I will end up, this is what it looked like before the foil. This is what it looks like with the foil. And then you can see I also did some little bit of gold embossing on the edges to give it a little bit more of a completed finished look. And then I'll cut it down and fit it onto the card. I have this sentiment here, thank you. I have another one where I'm going to cut today a sentiment out of gold that says, thanks. Or actually this one says hello. I've already put puffy tape behind this. So when I run it through the machine, so my little die cut, it'll actually cut through both. And then I'll have it actually have the adhesive and a little bit raised up when I put that on. One little thing I want to show you, actually two unique things I was doing with making this card is I used a stencil from Altenew. This is their Peony Garden stamp set, which is absolutely beautiful stamps. I have them next to me. Here they are. All of these come in the stamp set. You can see it better on the side. And you have the nice long one, you have the little leaves, you have some bigger ones, and then you have some of these little guys over here that have little bit of flowers on them. Together they make beautiful bouquets. So this is a really beautiful, beautiful set, especially heat embossed. But what I ended up doing is trying to do some watercoloring, and I used their stencil. And the stencil with some of the re-inkers, which I also water-based that I use as watercolors. I ended up having a lot more than I realized on my palette. So I had made about 3 or 4 pages, actually 4 pages of these loosely stenciled images. I also mixed in a little bit of gold mica to give a little bit more of a shimmer. I'm not sure how much you can see here, but there's a little bit of a shimmer. There you go. You can see the shimmer to these flowers. So this is what I used. And then I just lightly did the stenciling. And this is my little layering tool for my stamping. I actually have it's from We Are Precision Makers. We Are Precision Press Advance is what it's called. Instead of the thing that many people use to use for their stamping, I end up using this because the really cool thing is that you can have different lids so that you can base one stamp on one and have the other stamp on the other. And this is these two are right next to each other. I wouldn't have been able to stamp them together. If I had a multi-layer stamp, it makes it really simple. I can set them up prior to my stamping so I don't have to touch anything while I'm doing it. I get less smudges that way. Otherwise, I happen to get a lot of smudges. So I'm going to move this out of our way. I'm just going to show you real quick what I do over here. So like everybody else, we put something on it for de-staticking. And then I put my embossing powder on. Sometimes I use a paper bag that I've cut open. That's like a little thin little paper bag that I have that when I put my embossing powder over, I can shake it off into and then put it back into containers. Today I'm using a little tray that's specifically designed for using with embossing powders. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do this real quick and just show you. So I have some embossing powder already on my container here, but we're going to put on a little bit more. And this one, since it's loosely watercolored, it's not having to be exact for lining up. I didn't quite line it up exactly just now, but it's okay because it's loosely watercolored and it's giving a little bit different of an image. It's not the total perfection in the lines coloring for the watercoloring that I normally do in my cards, but it is a very nice way for it to have just a nice, beautiful, different layered touch. And I'm going to use this heat gun over here. Turn it a little higher. Just to do my heat embossing. So you can use different types of guns. There's a regular heat embossing craft guns. This one is a different one, but I really like it. Borrowed it from my husband. I'll get a temperature up here. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm gonna get the temperature up. And now this is gonna heat emboss real quickly. And you can see that beautiful detail that comes out when you emboss it. So you can see it's not quite lined up, but you get a little bit of the idea of the different types of shapes that you can get with that. Turn my heat gun off. And then go over to the next level of this. First off, before we go any further, and I spill it everywhere, I am going to put my powder back in my tray. Sorry about that. There we go. And now, just going to cut out a few different layers. And for that, I have my already set up die cut machine. I've already put some of my flowers and some of the die cuts that came with this on here. And I'm going to just run it right back through it. I usually run it twice. That's why once through and back and forth, just to get it, make sure it goes through the paper. I have here a painter safe on here, but it's only lightly on. I actually kind of stuck it to my clothing shirt a little bit first to get a little bit of the stickiness off. And you can see here the delicate but really pretty flower, and you can see the shimmer from the heat embossing and the shimmer in the actual flowers itself. And that should have been a little bit more gentle on that guy. Pulled it quite out a little bit here. Here, I didn't actually watercolor this one. I just stamped this in gold, just so I can have a little bit of different touch when I do the card, when I build up the card. And when I build up the card, I use different foam tapes to get different heights so that I can get different dimension on my cards. I like to have dimension on all the cards I make. I typically don't have just a flat card. Occasionally I do, but it's like here you can see that the flowers are actually different dimensions, as well as the sentiment thank you is also popped up a little bit so that you can see the difference between the beautiful background as well as the different intricately designed flowers. Here I'm just going to give one more, see how this guy comes out. I haven't used this tape before. I have put this through with foam tape and double-sided stick tape on it. This is the first time I'm using this kind of tape, but because the tape was pretty close to the size of the sentiment, I decided to try to give it a try and see. I'm going through a couple times because this is actually a very thick tape. A little bit more. See if it worked. It may not quite have worked the way I wanted, but we're going to give it a try. Alrighty, let's see. Test here. And it is here. Help me pull through this. Let's see here. I'm going to stick part of this down right now because I'm having it sticking to my hand. This is a very fine word with a lot of intricate detail to it, as you can see here. It looks like they actually turn in the right direction. Here we go. Now we actually have the whole thing that's a little bit raised just because it's on, I had attached a wide foam tape to the back before putting it through the machine. I normally put it through the machine first and then put a fun foam underneath it, but I was trying something a little bit different here, and it still works. I think the fun foam and the double-sided adhesive is probably a little bit easier because I lost some of my stickiness. I might have to put a little bit of glue behind that. But as you can see here, that's the word hello. And now I will end up putting together some of the flowers that I have cut. Let's see. Where did I just put? So I'll have to layer them a little bit to get some different heights, to get some different looks. I usually play around for a little bit until I find just what I'm looking for. And here we just want to give a little bit. See, I'm using these different shades of pinks and purples to kind of match a little bit, bring out a little bit of the pink and the purples in the paper itself. And I really like this unique flower. So I might just put this in this. And then I just want to show you that I know I have another one here with the word just thanks that I had just put the tape on itself. I didn't, on this one, I didn't actually put any foam behind it. I just put double-sided tape and stuck that one right on. I do like it with the foam behind it because it helps it stick up a little bit better. And I just wanted to show you here that these are so many different flowers in this set that is very versatile. You can actually just use some of the same here, like these two, put these in a little bouquet, put a little ribbon on it, and put a sentiment right over here, like just because, or just a note, or anything at all would go well with these. But I just want to take a minute to show you that there are different options for making these cards and to address them with different sentiments.